You're live.
Welcome. I'm live. Welcome to Bass University Live, everybody. Thanks for hanging in there with us. We had a little audio glitch that we wanted to get dialed in. Super excited to have a friend of mine. Forever, we've been fishing out on the tour together for, 15 years. She's still at it. A veteran of the Bassmaster Elites and a Florida resident, Florida fishing veteran, very knowledgeable. Bernie Schultz. Super experienced, super accomplished professional angler, especially in that part of the country. And we've got big tournaments coming up, notably one he's competing in on Lake Okeechobee, and we're going to be diving into that and some of the other bodies of water. The hurricane season had dumped quite a bit of water in Florida. The wind pushed a lot of things around, and I'm interested in we're going to dive in with Bernie about what that means, because he's seen it a number of times. I'm sure I've seen it too over the years, and the vegetation gets uprooted, moved around, and with all that extra water, how's that going to affect how the lakes fish down that part of the country this time of year? So we're going to be getting involved with all that stuff, and well. I see him right here. Usually we do an open, Bernie, but because we had that little glitch, we're going to just bring you right into the show. There he is, Mr. Bernie Schultz. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys doing?
Man, we're doing good. We just wrestled with ice storms in Dallas when we were there, and it's amazing. We had a Bass University in Texas, and it was rainy, which we like, that's good fishing weather. But then we took a couple days after our event to go fishing, and the ice unloaded on us, and the boat, we couldn't even get boats down to the launch ramp to launch and go fishing. So we were stranded in an ice storm in Texas last couple of or early part of this week, but we're glad to be home. And I know you're not dealing with that down in Florida right now, are you?
No, actually, I hate to rub it in. We're in the 70s, probably might even reach 80 today. Bluebird skies and spring conditions.
Yeah, that's rubbing it in, man. That's unappreciated.
Yeah, sorry about that. But we've had our share of cold weather. It's been in the 20s more than a few days this year, and we've had a lot of frost, and it's been kind of a hard winter in North Florida. I'm in North Florida, and I'm not far from the Georgia line. You could almost say I'm in South Georgia. It gets that cold here. It's a lot more temperate further south.
Right. Well, you're going to be fishing there too. You've got Lake Seminole coming up. That's a little closer to you, I guess.
Yeah, they're back to back. There's not even a day off. We'll leave Okeechobee on a Sunday and start practice on Monday at Seminole. Seminole's about 3 hours from my house, and Okeechobee's about 3.5, 4 hours.
Okay. Well, I love them both, and let's dive in, because we've seen it. I remember, and we talk about this a lot, because it was the heaviest stringer ever caught, which took place on Lake Toho, and that was after a cold front, and it got up to that 80 degrees, and every fish on the whole state of Florida decided to spawn at that moment.
Yeah, that was a remarkable event, and it happened overnight. The last practice day, if you recall, those fish weren't up in the morning. It was like late afternoon, and the guys that stayed out super late realized what was happening, and they had to jump on a lot of the rest of the field. A lot of guys ran to the hydrilla to fish, moving baits in open water. You're in that crew, okay? But fortunately, I stayed out till probably longer than I should have, but I saw what was happening, and I lucked out and did pretty good in that tournament.
That's awesome. It's funny, because I was within sight of Rojas when he did that, and I was fishing outside the hydrilla edge on the fish that were schooling on shad out there, and catching them really well. At practice, it was, you had to get away from it because they were so thick, they were so ganged up, and chomping that shad. And I'm looking at Dean over there in the shallows, and I'm like shaking my head at him. Nope, not there yet, buddy. And I was 100% wrong.
Yeah, he was pretty close to me, and he was on one side of me about maybe a quarter mile, and Aaron Martins was on my other side, maybe 300 or 400 yards. And there weren't many people early in the morning. We had that that part of the lake to ourselves pretty much. I think Shaw was in the area, but everybody that stayed close to the bank in that north end of Toho just really capitalized.
Were you fortunate enough to get one of those 30-pound bags or 40s even?
No, I was just shy of it. I was consistent every day. I made the final, but I didn't have a super big bag. I did catch a 10-pounder one day, but
Nice.
it was like, okay, next, get off the stage. We got 11s and 12s to weigh in here. So, but,
upper 20s, you got kicked to the curb.
Yeah, it's happened more than a few times. At Falcon, I caught 32 pounds each day of the first two competition days, and that wasn't even remarkable compared to what some of those guys caught. So,
wow,
yeah,
that's crazy. I had my chest pumped out. I had 15 pounds on day one at Toho, thinking I was going. I had a wonderful day, and I got lit up, but the key there, the lesson there is that cold front sitting on Florida, and then the pending or the heat wave that came after it is really what drove those fish to the bank. Do you see that happening down there at Okeechobee this year, or even at Seminole?
Yeah, well, it actually happened this week. We're coming off a full moon. Sunday was a full moon, and I know there was the guy I travel with, Cliff Prince, his son was in a tournament up on Seminole this past weekend, and they said the fish really flooded the bank, but then a front hit and kind of backed them off. And I know they're bedding in a lot of the places around North Florida where I'm at in the Gainesville area. But yeah, I mean, you just described the perfect scenario. You want cold conditions and then a stable warming trend leading into the competition. That usually brings them to the bank.
Well, let's dive into Okeechobee. I've heard guys down there that haven't been for a few years, and they were like, it's unrecognizable. There's more water there. The grass isn't there. Have you visited the lake?
I did. I put in a couple of days right after New Year's, just before cutoff, and I wasn't impressed, Pete. I'll be honest with you. The lake's been sprayed to death. There's just not the vegetation that used to, grow in areas that were once lush are now barren. The Hurricane Ian definitely raised the water level, and it roiled up the lake pretty good. But that's not the problem with the lake. That lake will settle out fairly quickly. It's more a cumulative issue with the indiscriminate spraying. That's what has been the problem there.
No kidding. I didn't think that was a problem at Okeechobee. Why are they suddenly attacking the grass?
Yeah, well, in my opinion, it's about money. They appropriate the money to these different agencies, and if they don't spend the money, and that translates to spraying, then they don't get it the next year. And there's too many agencies trying to work the same bodies of water, and they're not in sync with each other. They all have different agendas. But there's sections of Lake Okeechobee that used to be lush with, submerged vegetation. And that's the vegetation that really does the filtration. Hydrilla, peppergrass, eelgrass, those types of weeds do the best filtration. There's still plenty of maiden cane, flat reed, brown reeds. Those are all over the lake, but they don't filter near as well as hydrilla, peppergrass, or some of the pond weeds.
Right. Yeah. Well, they're huge, and we've had this discussion. We just had this at a Bass U. Like the spraying of grass, the biologists will say it doesn't hurt the fish. It doesn't kill them. It's harmless. But I gotta say, every time the grass is sprayed, I can't catch a fish for 100 square miles of wherever they spray.
Yeah, those fish are history.
Yeah, it makes them sick at the very least. I don't buy that either. The other thing that people need to realize is these chemicals that they spray are residual. They go into the substrate. They don't evaporate into the atmosphere. Maybe a percentage of it does, but a lot of it is residual, and it's on the lake bottom, and it's not good. It's not healthy for the lake. It's not healthy for us.
Right. Well, what's left? I mean, it sounds to me like whatever grass is left is where every single boat in the elite tournament's going to be stacked on top of each other.
Yeah, like I said, 2/3 of that lake normally is covered with quality vegetation. Um, and now it's been reduced to 1/3 of the lake. And
Wow.
that might be generous. I mean, like I said, you're going to find reeds and maiden cane grass, joint grass. You're going to see all that emergent grass around the lake, but it's the submerged vegetation that really does the filtration, and that also offers quality habitat for the bass to spawn in. It also increases the amount of forage fish, and all that's really in peril right now. It's been really, they, like I said, they sprayed it to death.
Man, that's a shame. Well, the rule we learned, and it's funny. I gotta ask you about this too. Like I remember when our first trips to Florida, all the locals were telling us two things, and I'd like you to, I need you to comment on both. One is you got to find the clear water. Clear water is where you're going to find your fish. Bottom line, don't bother fishing the stained. So I'm curious if stained water might play a role because there's not as much clear water down there with less grass. What your thoughts are on there? And the other one was throw your jigs out. They don't work in Florida. Now everybody's catching catching jig fish and winning tournaments in Florida. So those two things. What are your thoughts on the clear water situation? Do you think that the stained water could be a factor with the absence of grass?
Yeah, I think it will be for some. There's guys that'll come down here that are intimidated by clear water, ultra clear water, and I mean it's gin clear in the places where it still has lush vegetation, good filtration. There's really quality water there. There's guys that fish, reservoirs that are off color most of the year, and they're going to be more comfortable in stained water. And there are definitely a population of fish in different parts of the lake that are more stained. And I'm sure some guys will figure that out. But like you said, the multitude of anglers will basically condense into those clear water areas. With regard to the jig, the earliest reference I have was Corbin Dyer. He made a jig work down there, and he shared that information with Paul Elias. And I remember Paul doing really well in a tournament on Okeechobee with a jig. And this is 30 years ago, 25 years ago at least. And it slowly kind of caught on. And there's a group down there that they flip big jigs, 1 ounce, 1 1/4 ounce jigs, and catch fish on those things. I've not made it work more than a handful of times. Sometimes it works, most times it doesn't for me. But I'll have one tied on if that answers your question.
It was crazy because I remember coming down there and just fishing it till my arms fell off because I'm a jig guy and I couldn't believe that it wouldn't work and the soft plastics just work so much better. Maybe I got brainwashed, but I certainly missed the boat, and it's back then, and it's odd to see that so many guys are winning tournaments on it right now.
Yeah.
But the clear water, yeah, it's gonna concentrate those boats. It's probably going to be a little bit easier to find. But do you think? It sounds to me like, man, with this weather, that it does it look like it's going to be stable? Does it look like you're going to be getting that shallow water push and that spawn happening down there?
Well, I'm sure it happened this past weekend.
Yeah.
We did have a front pass through Florida, but I don't think it affected the southern part of the state. I mean, Florida is a really long state, north to south. And what's happening in North Florida can be completely different just a few hundred miles south. Like I said, we had a full moon, very stable, warm conditions leading into that full moon. So I would have to guess. I mean, we're off limits now, so I can't call and get any kind of information. But my guess is that they had a full-on spawn this past weekend.
How is that gonna, play? That kind of pushes fish back. The big girls are, I guess, gonna, I don't know. You tell me. What it sounds to me like that's going to be a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, I mean, the males are going to hang around. They're going to protect the nest, and some of the females will as well. And they don't all go at once. They this probably was a major spawn that occurred. That would be my guess because of the conditions, and they want to go as soon as they can usually, but they don't all spawn at the same time. There was spawning fish in Okeechobee back in December.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as how it will play, it just depends how many more fish move in during the week that we're there. A lot of them will have been caught, and that'll send them back to the deeper part of the lake or another part of the lake somewhere to recover. But the areas that are really productive now, I would assume will still be productive when we get there. And it's like you said, the sleeper might be that off-colored water. The guys that can figure that out.
Right. Well, I talked to you about this a little bit ago, and had forward-facing sonar. We're seeing it work in Florida. Have you embraced it? Have you dove into this world? And what do you think about that as a factor in these Florida tournaments?
Yeah, I resisted for the longest time, Pete. I'm kind of an old school guy. In Florida, I've only used it in very limited applications. You need a little bit of depth. At least my feeling is you need a little bit of depth to be able to read it accurately and see what's out there at any distance. If it gets too compressed, too shallow, you get a lot of clutter, and you're not going to see stuff as well as you would maybe up north where you have more depth to, like in reservoirs or whatnot. Where I decided I really needed to learn it was on the Great Lakes. I was getting my butt handed to me pretty regular with guys that were using it on smallmouth in particular. So I committed to it 3 years ago to really try and make it work on smallmouth, and I found a lot of success doing that. Spotted bass were a little frustrating. We went to Lanier a couple of years back, and I saw so many fish. I mean, I'd throw my bait out there, little jig or whatever it was, a shaky head, and watch it sink like a little meteor down through the water column. And I'd see these fish go right over to my bait, and then they do this.
Oh no!
It was so aggravating, and I spent way too much time the first day of practice. It's kind of, it sucks you in. It's so intriguing how it works and how well you can see what's happening below the surface. But in that scenario, it wasn't working for me. But on smallmouth and in certain reservoirs where I use it on largemouth, it's been very effective.
Well, it's great that you have embraced it. I'm embracing it too and learning more and more all the time. By the way, our last live show, guys, I want to invite you guys to go check it out. We had Josh Jones just prior to our Bash in Texas, and he's brought like 5 lunker share fish, fish over 13 pounds in the last couple of years, using it, and some of the most unusual baits that, like, I don't know if you knew this, Bernie, but one of the baits that they're using out there is a swim jig with no trailer and no weed guard, and they're fishing those giant largemouth out in the open, like in front of the dam, and just basically hunting them and fishing for them with that odd bait and triggering those giant fish. It's crazy to listen to them talk like that.
Yeah, I did a little bit of research on that. It is interesting how they can target. They're able to, figure out the size of the fish by the signal that returns. And I'm not there yet. I mean, it's kind of confusing to me. I don't know how they tell a carp from a bass when they're that big. But it's the time you dedicate to it. We don't have that luxury on tour, as you well know. It's, you try to cover as much water effectively as possible in the time you're allowed, and make your best guesses based on what you find. And the only thing I feel really confident in are smallmouth, the signals I see when I'm on the lakes fishing for smallmouth.
Yeah, Brian Schmidt just gave a seminar for us about how he uses it, and smallmouth are probably the most consistent way to target fish. At least he agrees with you. And I just want to, like, Josh was interviewing him. Of course, they're spending hours just studying this stuff, looking at this screen for 5 years, and the key to the carp blob is looking for that forked tail, and the catfish is a constantly moving tail, and stripers tend to dart in and out of your screen. So that's a simple formula, but that's some of his observations on looking at that screen all these years. And so I'm with you. I'm still learning. I know a lot of our guys are, but I'm sure that'll be a real helpful situation. But I'm glad.
We're old dogs. We got to learn these new tricks. I mean, it's, if you want to survive, that's what you have to do.
I honestly think, because you hear a lot of people ragging on it, and I feel like the guys that embracing it, the guys like you with the veteran, with the knowledge of fish movements and patterns and behaviors, it can't help. I mean, the guys eventually, the guys with that advanced fishing knowledge are going to be shining, with this extra tool. That's the way I feel about it. I mean, there's no replacing understanding of how fish move through the water column.
Yeah, I'd like to pick Larry Nixon and Roland Martin's their brains. Those guys are so good at patterning fish, and there are a bunch of others. But the veterans that did it the hard way, and they had flashers and paper graphs and
Yep.
archaic means of looking at what was under the surface. But you combine all those years of Rick Clunn's a classic example, just eliminating water based on season and the conditions, whatever the current conditions are on a given body of water. Those guys are the masters at that. And I can't help but feel like this younger generation is kind of handicapped in that regard. They're totally reliant on the forward-facing sonar, and they haven't really developed the instincts that Clunn and Nixon and Brower and Roland Martin have. And I'm kind of caught in between. I wasn't the best at ciphering all that, but I did pretty good over my career. And now I'm trying to learn forward-facing sonar. So I'm kind of in the middle, trying to make both work and combine the two.
I think that's going to be the big asset is combining the two. And we're seeing guys being able to do that, and we're also seeing the fish start to change, and that's been a consistent messaging that I get, and everybody that is working with this is the fish are adjusting to it. They're not as easily caught as they once were when this first came out. They're starting to feel that ping. Guys doing cool stuff like seeing the fish, identifying the fish, and then turning that transducer off the fish to try to catch it, because the fish are starting to adjust.
Yeah. You can condition them with fishing pressure, boat pressure. I mean, they're reacting to their environment, and when things are hostile or not to their liking, they're going to make adjustments. I mean,
yeah, no doubt. Well, what are the adjustments on Okeechobee? How do you feel like this tournament's going to be won? Is it going to be a sight fishing tournament? What do you think?
I mean, it could be. I think it'll be a mixed. I mean, a guy could go down there and flip and sight fish, or fish open water for schools of fish and then sight fish. I mean, I think it's going to be a combination of patterns, of techniques. To purely go sight fishing, I don't think you're going to see what happened at Toho when Rojas set the record. I think it's, Okeechobee is going to play a little differently, and it's hard to hide there. It's a round bowl of a lake, and if you set the hook on a fish, you're going to have company. It's just the guys are condensed in areas. There's a lot of traffic down there that's non-tournament related. They're there for, just they're tourists, or they're people from the area that are trying to capitalize on a spring bite. And there's a lot of them. The boat ramps are flooded with boat trailers, and
it's crazy.
It is crazy.
Down there.
So it's going to be very difficult to find something to yourself, and to survive 4 days of competition, you're going to need that. You're going to have to find something isolated, I feel.
And you're right. Well, that would be awesome to find something isolated. It's so hard to do. And because it's so often, just like you said, in Florida, if you're driving past the boats, you're typically driving away from the fish.
Yeah.
The boats tell you where the fish are a lot. You just, like you said, it's a lot of Florida lakes are like that. You just can't hide.
They are. It's hard to hide. And, again, the quality of the water is only in certain parts of the lake. And boats are going to find that and give it away. So, you know, I'm going to try to fish where there are fewer fish and separate myself from the crowd. It's a risk, and, you know, it's a big gamble trying to do that, but it can also pay off huge. I might only get a few bites a day if I can make that work, but they could be the right bites.
Well, you're the guy, one of the guys that could do that with your advanced knowledge of the waterway. And guys watching, if you're watching us over on Facebook, over on social, wherever you're watching us, like it and share it. And we have some prizes that we're going to be giving away. Jocelyn, can you tell me what our prizes are today?
Sure can. So our prizes today for our like and share winner would win some Waterwood custom baits. And then for
Awesome.
our grand prize, we're going to be giving away some Hobie eyewear sunglasses.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Just in time for sight. You can take your Sightmaster Plus lenses right down to Lake Okeechobee and jump in the Derby with Bernie.
There you go.
Yeah. Come on.
I don't think they let anybody, just anybody in those terms, got to qualify for that one.
No, we
but
don't know.
So. That's hopefully it's going to be a great tournament. We look forward to it. By the way, if you have questions for Bernie on whatever you want to talk about, I want to invite you guys to. I see a lot of people over on the IM board. What's up, Tuck and Scott and Dylan, BKJ, Rich, Nick? Great to have you guys with us. Great visiting with you. I also want to give a shout out to our boys down in Texas. We had a blast. And I'd like to show some pictures. I'm going to send you some pictures later on for later in the show of our first annual Bass U meetup on Lake Travis, not Lake Travis,
Athens?
Lake Athens.
Yep.
Lake Athens, where we fished in the ice storm.
Yeah. 21 degrees of happiness.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Bernie, was cold. I made it for 4.5 hours, and then I had to seek warmth.
And then the power went out in the house. So how much more did you get?
Yeah, it was cold. Crazy.
It's cold here too. We had 2 nights consecutive of 22 degrees in North Florida. Then it went to 26 and then to 30. And that's cold for here. I mean, that's remarkably cold. We had a large fish kill, not bass, but snook. And it was over on the coast primarily, but we lost a lot of snook and some other fish over there because of the cold. And so it happens. It does chill down here.
Well, the cool part about their waterways, and every time when they have those cold blasts, that's where all the lunker shares come in. And they had 3 in 2 days over 13 pounds come in just around the end of that ice storm.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, really neat program down there, how they're capturing and spawning those giant largemouth females with males, and creating this these wonderful fishing opportunities out there.
Yeah, Texas. I don't know if you remember Hal Schramm. He actually was here at the University of Florida. He was a biologist, and he worked in Texas for a while, and I think he's since retired, but he worked for the government in D.C. at the end of his career. He was involved with a lot of that, and there's a bunch of guys involved with it, but it's like a template. What they do in Texas really works, and more states need to adopt those practices. As you well know, anywhere we go with a strict limit and strong conservation efforts, those are the best places on tour.
Yeah, I would agree. They are leading the way. They've got great funding from companies like Bass Pro Shops and Toyota, and man, what an unbelievable facility. I had my eyes on what we think was a 20-pound bass in one of their aquariums.
Wow.
Yeah, they hadn't weighed it
beast
for a couple of years, and it has just been steadily growing. And that's quite spectacular. It's in captivity, not going to be a world record or anything like that, but pretty spectacular to see fish of that magnitude.
You can just pull them out of the tank and be like, look, I caught a 20-pound fish.
I think they
frown upon that.
Yeah, the Texas fisheries may have shot us if we attempted to do that.
I saw a fish one time. Shaw Grigsby and I were fishing together in a spring, in the spring, and the water was gin clear. You could see down to 25 feet in this place. And we saw a fish together that was biggest fish I've ever seen in the continental United States. I went to Japan a few years back and did a video on Lake Ikehara, and I saw a fish there that I know was a world record. There's no question. I caught a 9-pounder, and this fish was more than twice its size.
Wow.
Just swimming down the bank. I was trying to catch one about 6 or 7 pounds that was spawning in the fork of a tree. The banks are really steep there, and they're either on ledges or in the forks or on the branches of trees when they spawn. And this fish came cruising by the boat, and I just forgot all about the fish I was trying to catch and followed her down the bank until she sank out of sight. But she was easily over 20 pounds, no question.
Holy smokes! I can't even imagine.
Yeah, they got them. They grow them big over there.
Well, I got to look at one in an aquarium, if nothing else.
Yeah,
and we're hoping to get a little bit better fishing opportunities next time we go. We'll be back in Texas next year, as well as, guys, look for that over at thebassuniversity.com. We're going to be announcing some of our classes already for next year over at thebassuniversity.com, but we're definitely going back to Texas. Scott, what do you got?
Yeah, Rich on our board's got a question for Bernie. Outside of Florida, where's a couple of your favorite places to fish on tour?
Thousand Islands is my absolute favorite.
You always crush them there, Bernie. You have been crushing them there for 25 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I won my first big tournament, and it's kind of special in that regard. But it's, back then it was a 3-pound average could win. Nowadays, you're embarrassed to be on the stage with a 3-pound average. It's just that good there. I don't know that there are more fish, but they're definitely bigger fish. And a lot of them can be caught looking at them, which I really enjoy. That's kind of what I like to do best. Other good places, I mean, Texas has some great fisheries. Rayburn's great, and there's Falcon used to be good. There's a lot of great places. The Delta in California, I really like fishing there as well. I don't know if it's still as good as when we were there last, when the Elite Series was there, but I caught a 10-pounder in that tournament there, and had chances at other big fish that I've managed to lose on cables around docks. But it's just there's a lot of great fisheries in the country.
I love that. I love Thousand Islands. How has that changed over the years? Are guys catching them in the same areas, or they're just bigger?
Yeah, I think back in the day, shoals with broken rock and patchy grass were kind of the key for me back in the day. Sand wasn't as big a deal. And I guess because of the advent of gobies, the introduction of gobies, which live on the sand a lot, you see the big rogue smallmouth out there cruising looking for them. Docks are still a player there. I forget who it was. I'm trying to think. One of our guys had a top 5 finish there just a few years ago.
Brock Mosby.
Yeah. Fishing largemouth on docks and did real well every day. He caught them.
Right.
That's hard to do. Back in the day, that was a definite pattern. A lot of guys made the money and finished high fishing for largemouth on docks, but the smallmouth pretty much outweigh them on average now. So that's the focus. But yeah, it's changed. The forage base has changed, and that's why the fish are bigger. It's why their habits are a little bit different where you find them and how you fool them.
Well, it's a special place, and you're always in contention up there, and it's fun to see a guy from Florida, coming all that far north and always crushing them.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. The commentators, Zona and Mercer, they're all saying, I was raised up there and I spend my summers always up there, and none of that was accurate. I was born and raised in Florida, but something about that place suited me, and I did go up there and I'd fish tournaments and stay as long as I could, but I didn't live up there at any point ever. It's one of those places I'm sure you have yourself where you just felt comfortable in and just exploited.
And that's definitely the truth. And that one, the biggest problem always was there is that big water is running those giant waves. That's not for everybody. That takes a lot of guts to get out there. And man, they let us go. Remember, Bernie? I mean, one of those opens, they were 10 to 12 footers
Yeah.
out there on the lake.
Yeah, I remember one of them. They were invitationals back then, and I remember one. Maybe it was a top 100 actually. Now I think about it, but it's one of the first top 100s, I believe. A bunch of guys went over to Chameau Bay, and I think like 24 boats made it back to weigh in from there that day. It was horrible. A lot of guys just they called for their trailers. They just they all had fish, but it wasn't worth it to them. I had Randy Mosley, if you remember Randy, he was a daredevil, and he talked me into going. I was satisfied to put it on the trailer, and I had a really good bag of smallmouth. I had 17 pounds that day, which was huge back then.
Yeah.
When you eclipsed 15 pounds with smallmouth, you were, in the 80s and 90s, that was really strong. But anyway, we made it back. We tore up a bunch of stuff, but we made it back, and both of us were in the top 10 as a result.
It's crazy. I've been in some real bad situations. Mark Menendez one time escorted me. I was level flotation, but could idle and out in giant swells. And and Mark escorted me in through the mouth of the St. Lawrence there through Cape Vincent till I could get into a safe harbor and get myself bilged out. Everything clogged, everything was failing, but I was able to get myself up and running and back to the weigh-in thanks to Mark. But that's scary stuff, scary big water. You got to be prepared for that.
It is. You can't hardly describe it to people. When you crest a wave, like when you're going into them, you crest a wave and you slide down the backside of that wave, your engine goes underwater. It just goes silent for a minute, and then it comes back out. And fortunately, most of the time it's still running, but there's been more than a few guys that were upright level flotation. So you're not alone there.
Mm-hmm. And the other worst part is when you come over the crest. If you get too aggressive, and you come over the crest of that wave, and especially on following seas when the wind's behind you, that wave is so steep, and you can just submarine, and that. Well, I've done that a time or two myself.
Yes. Oh yeah, I've done it in the river. If you can imagine that, I did it last time we were out of. I can't think of the name of the town. All the way at the dam at the far end, and ran all. By Messina, Waddington. We actually went out of Waddington. I think the MLF tour goes out of Messina. But anyway, ran all the way down, and the wind was against the current, stacking it up, and I got all the way to where I wanted to fish. And about the time I got there, I stabbed a wave and filled the boat to the brim. So that's not a good thing ever. So.
Well, I've had sonar units ripped off. You see guys get their trolling motors ripped off. It's it's you got to learn how to do that. Guys get so excited and they put the hammer down, and you just got to learn to be patient. That's what I found.
That's the whole key, is take your time.
Yep, take your time. You're a big fan of Bernie over there, Scott. Did you get to Marshall with Bernie?
I did back in 2015. I think it was Bernie. We were down on the Chesapeake.
Oh, did I catch him?
Yep. Yeah, northeast. Yeah, we went up the Northeast Creek there, and.
Oh yeah. I had a top 5 there, I think.
Yeah, you crushed them. You told me I'll never forget it. You said, Scott, when that stick comes out of that water 3 inches, we're going to load the boat. And sure enough, man, that tide turned and you started flipping 4-pounders. And I'm like taking pictures like crazy.
Yeah, I remember
it was awesome.
Yeah, it's, tide is such a critical thing. Pete, you know this as well as anybody. On a tidal river, it may not be the movement as much as the level sometimes. I mean, movement's usually good. It's usually better, but it just seems like when it gets to a certain level, at water level, that's when they turn on, and that was the case in Northeast River.
Yeah, that was great. That changed my game.
I was covering that tournament. I watched you. I watched you there for a little while too, covering it for Bassmasters. Unfortunately, that area did not produce for me in the open in this fall, Bernie. And I visited there every day. We had rain come through, and it blew all the bait and the bass right out of there. And I kept checking to see if they were back yet, and they never showed up for me. And I just knew the Bernie mojo was going to help me somehow, and they were going to show up on the finals. But unfortunately, I had to catch them elsewhere.
Yeah, the last time the tour went there, they actually canceled the tournament. They had flooding up the Susquehanna, and so much timber got over the the dam and out into the flats in the bay there. It was they just shut it down, and I was traveling with my normal guy Cliff Prince. We were on them pretty good. We found a place that was protected, and we were kind of excited about it. And then when they pulled the rug on that event, it was really disappointing, because I knew it was going to be really a challenge for a lot of guys. But
no doubt,
yeah,
how it happens sometimes.
I know, a lot of guys were upset. We heard stories of guys like we told this story, but the Biffle story, where he ran straight into the face of that current, went up to the dam somewhere, and was just unloading on fish in that the horrible water, you know.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that guy's crazy. Biffle, if he doesn't see it, it's not there. You know what I'm talking about. He'll run 60, 70 miles an hour through a stump field, and they can be 3 inches under the water, but if he doesn't see them, they don't exist. That's his mentality.
And it was crazy because there's nothing but rock. I mean, it's pure rock. I can't get. I've got gel coat all over those rocks, just trying to get up there on trolling motor. And
I looked at it once. There's no way I'm going up there.
Yeah.
Yep.
He had a few feet of extra water to deal with, but
that's an invitation for Biffle.
Yep, that's classic Biffle. Well, I also want to invite you guys. We re-released, updated your seminar, Bernie, on Topwater. That's available. We had that remastered on that.
We actually got someone commenting about that. Matthew Keeble said, would like to say thanks to Bernie. He just rewatched your remastered Topwater video yesterday, and he said more knowledge in 40 minutes than you can learn in 5 years.
Thank you.
True story.
One Topwater tip for guys coming in. We're going to be coming into the pre-spawn. Things are starting to warm up. What's your number one bait or tip for guys?
Well, in Florida, down here, we're kind of unique here. A prop bait works really well in Florida. You know that as well as anybody. Patience. When you make a presentation, more fish for me, when I'm throwing a prop bait, I catch them with the bait sitting still, or just after it's been sitting still a while and I make that next move, they'll blow up on it. The less I move it, it seems the better I do, especially on big fish.
Patience is key.
Yeah.
I wonder, I haven't used forward-facing sonar with Topwater presentations yet. Have you had that experience yet, Bernie?
I have not. I tried it at Rodman Reservoir. The last time the Elite Series was there, I had a bedding area. It was about 3 feet deep with scattered pads, and I could see the fish out there. And I tried it a little bit there, but to no success. I ended up catching those fish with like a wacky worm Senko.
Right.
Wacky rig Senko.
Yeah, that's got to be a cool experience. I will be hopefully getting into some of that later on this year. And man, just want to thank you for being part of Bass University. Thanks for joining us and giving us some insight on Florida fishing. And it's always great to have you on the show.
Happy to be here and available to you guys anytime. And I appreciate all those that stayed with me over these long, boring years of my career. I'm still here, still battling, and still feel like there's good fishing ahead of me.
Well, I hope are Thousand Islands on your schedule this year?
It is, man. It's such a great schedule. We have Okeechobee, and then Seminole, and then we go to the Carolinas for Murray and Santee Cooper, and then we go out to the Sabine River, which is not actually. Let me back up. We go to Lay Lake, and then we go to the Sabine River. That will probably be the weak link of the whole season. Then we go up north to Champlain. We go to St. Clair, and then Champlain, then the Thousand Islands. We end on the Thousand Islands.
Wow.
So it's a great schedule. There's really no excuses for me this year. I got to catch them.
Scott's over there signing up to be a marshal as we speak.
Yes, sir.
Come on, man. You're welcome in my boat.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, you bring the mojo.
It was awesome. It was a great day. We're going to do it again.
Process of becoming a marshal.
You just simply have to sign up.
And then they randomly pick? Or?
They randomly pick. You may know more than I know, Bernie, but they usually are usually there's always a spot. Rarely do they fill up.
Yeah, some lakes will fill up, and others they look for people to fill in at the last minute. The way to do it is go to bassmaster.com or contact the tournament department at Bass in Birmingham and sign up. You can Google it. I mean, they make it pretty accessible to people that are interested.
Yeah, it's the best couple days in the water. You learn so much. First day I had Shaw Grigsby and then Bernie, and man, I came away with that tournament, went back the following weekend on the Northeast, got a limit 2 days in a row, and you know how hard that is sometimes. So
Yep.
I learned a lot.
I believe, and let me know what you think, Bernie. I think being a marshal probably is the most efficient way to learn, because like being a co-angler is great, but I think you're a little distracted by fishing and competing in your tournament. But by being a marshal, you actually are watching top level guys deal with amazingly difficult conditions in real time, and you're not distracted. I think it's got to be the best learning opportunity on the water.
Yeah, I mean, that's undoubtedly it's a great way to learn, especially when a guy's struggling. Then you're going to see all the things that he does to try to get himself out of the hole. But then there's also Bass University and Bassmaster.com and all the different publications out there that teach fishing. So, you know, anybody that's interested in trying to improve their angling skills, all of those are good places to start.
And we have lots of instruction from Bernie Schultz over at bassu.tv. So go check that out. Best of luck this year. We're going to be pulling for you and watching live. I love the live coverage. And thanks so much for being with us, Bernie.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys, and see you down the road.
All right.
Yeah, tight line, Bernie. All right. Go get him.
Scott's favorite.
Yep. Every year I'm pulling for Bernie.
I'm laughing because Dan Allen, he was in the Texas seminar. He wrote, bring Krispy Kreme donuts and they will let you be a marshal. You know, I would sign up to be a marshal if there were Krispy Kreme donuts on that boat. Just saying. That
was awesome. We didn't get Krispy Kremes in Texas.
What?
No, we did. Krispy Kreme, the local or the closest one was 100 miles away or something.
We got a local
rental car.
It was good. Yep.
We had local donut shops.
They were good. Those chocolate creams.
Yeah. They had
living large on the road.
Yep. We had a blast down there, guys. We're going to be giving away some prizes based on grand prize based on something that we heard on today's show. Hope you were paying attention. And we also, if you're watching over on social, like us, share us, and we got a prize for you guys as well. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to come back and give away some stuff.
What's going on? It's Riz here from the Bass University, and I am excited to welcome in Waterwood Custom Baits to the Bassu family. These are custom handmade baits in the South Rainforest of Brazil. They're made of Marupa pedra wood. It's extremely dense, it's resistant, but it's also really buoyant. They're made of quality components with a 100% guarantee. They're made for tournament anglers to get it done when the money is on the line. Guys, that was like my second cast with this bait. That's a Waterwood custom bait. These things are handmade in the rainforest south of Brazil. And I mean, as you can see right here, it's a fish catching bait. It's got the front hook. That means they wanted it. This bait's, it's running really true. It throws really well. Guys, check them out at waterwoodcustombaits.com. What's going on? It's Riz here from the Bass University, and I am excited to welcome in Waterwood Custom Baits to the Bassu family. These are custom handmade baits in the South Rainforest of Brazil. They're made of Marupa pedra wood. It's extremely dense. It's resistant, but it's also really buoyant. They're made of quality components with a 100% guarantee. They're made for tournament anglers to get it done when the money is on the line. Guys, that was like my second cast with this bait. That's a Waterwood custom bait. These things are handmade in the rainforest south of Brazil. And I mean, as you can see right here, it's a fish catching bait. It's got the front hook. That means they wanted it. This bait's, it's running really true. It throws really well. Guys, check them out at waterwoodcustombaits.com.
bassboatforsale.com is the world's premier bass boat listings business. We focus on driving premium web traffic to our main website, business Facebook page, business Instagram, and our business YouTube channel, providing your bass boat listings the best buying traffic and top-notch exposure. Whether you need to sell your bass boat or are looking to buy a bass boat, it's simple. We give boats exposure so buyers shop and sellers list. One-time listing fee, no commission, and boats list until they sell. Bassboatforsale.com. Check it out.
AquaView, the leader in underwater viewing technology. Find what you are looking for. Catch more fish. Have more fun. AquaView. Seeing is believing.
Why do you love catching fishing rods?
I'm truly losing less fish.
Is the sensitivity of the rod.
That they're made right here in North Carolina in the USA. Strongest, lightest rod, 100% made here in Sanford, North Carolina.
From the drop shot rod to the flipping stick. Every rod has a purpose to it, and I rely on them all the time when I'm out there in a tournament.
Durability in the John Cruz Wormman series, the counterbalancing in the handle.
It's the only rod I found that can withstand my hook set. Boom goes the dynamite.
On the water not spent fishing is a moment wasted. That's why Minn Kota and Humminbird have joined forces to bring you the One Boat Network. Products that communicate and integrate to help you take full command of your boat. Born from our commitment to making the most advanced fishing gear even better by making it work together. The One Boat Network will help you find, get to, stay on, and catch more fish. When One Boat Network products talk to each other, they can navigate your boat automatically. They can give you a crystal clear view of what's below with no messy wires. And they can let you lower, raise, and change shallow water anchor modes from anywhere on the boat. But that's just the beginning. We're never done innovating, integrating, and making your boat simpler and easier to control. All so you can make every second on the water count.
You're back.
I am back as I'm checking my folders for Jocelyn. We're man, we had a great event. What a great Bass University season from South Carolina to Gadsden. We finished up in Texas, and we had a really cool event. We called it our first annual Bass University meetup, which took a place on Lake Athens. And unfortunately, we had crummy weather. We had Scott, this was Jocelyn. We missed you. We needed people to help us through this emergency situation.
Yeah, the old Boy Scout skills came in handy.
They did
building fires and starting fires with no kindling wood and
stealing or borrowing, depending on how you look at it.
Some good
firewood.
Neighbor policy. Yes, they were good neighbors, and fires and electrical poles down.
Well, here's what happened. Well, the ice storm, you guys all saw the ice hit Dallas at the exact time when we were fishing, and we got to fish. And I just want to give a big shout out to all the guys that came with us. Jeff Woods was there, and Travis Snyder and Dawson was there. Rory Delatour and Jason Cooper. We all came down and battled the ice with us on Monday, and we got to get out and fish on Lake Athens, and we caught a bunch of fish. We didn't catch any of the giant Texas bass, but my rule is a cold fisherman catches no fish, Scott.
This is true.
And we packed warm gear. Josh, it was not enough.
I would have never even stepped foot on that boat. I would have been like, see you guys later.
21 degrees, after an hour, I couldn't feel my feet. So it didn't matter how long we stayed out.
I know. Our hands, like we've all got good gear, but we didn't pack it.
Nope.
Like we packed warm gear, but not Arctic gear. And that's exactly what we got. So, but we did have a blast, and we fished, and we got some fish pics. We'll put them again up on social, but I want to thank all those guys for participating, and we're going to do events like that again next year.
That was fantastic. And I want to compliment
the
the dean. Like, you put us on a pattern so fast. The outside grass, cold weather, start using live scope. You guys are picking off bass before we even got to our spot. I'm like, and we got the text. We're like, hey, here's the pattern. That was epic. I was impressed.
That was cool.
It was really cool.
And one of the components of our meetup is like we weren't having a tournament. We were having a meetup. We were sharing knowledge, and I wanted that to be part of it. So anybody that caught fish, we wanted to transmit the patterns and the baits to everybody, so we could get on, work together as a group to catch fish. And
super cool.
And we were live scoping fish, super deep in crop skiing schools of crappie, and you can see why in some of those Texas reservoirs why and how they're catching so many of those big fish, because those lakes are so well suited. They're deep. They're deep water. They have a lot of offshore structure. It's really, really
have you ever
great habitat for using that. What's that?
Have you ever fished in Texas before?
Yeah, fished there, quite a few times over the years. Actually, I caught my first big fish. My first double-digit bass came from Texas.
Mr. Higgs wants to know, was the pattern dealing with a black Senko?
There you go. It should have been.
It should have been. I probably could have made that work, but we were operating on. It was 66 degrees a day before we fished, and it was 20 degrees for the high. So we had plummeting water temperatures. So we opted to use reaction tools like jerk baits, Alabama rigs, and lipless. Lipless was the tool that I was.
So you didn't need your Hobie sunglasses.
I wore them.
You did?
I did need them, actually, because they're very, very effective at blocking the sleet from stinging you in the eyes when you're driving down the lake.
Yes, indeed.
So, although we were not sight fishing, they came in handy. That's for sure. But so day one, we go out, we fish, we have a blast, stay warm. We get back, and I've got to drive to the airport, and here comes more ice. I've got to drop off our videographer, Mark. Big shout out to Mark Devin. He's awesome.
Great job.
And it took me 6 hours round trip to get to the airport and back.
Dramatic.
So Tom Lang of Texas Fisheries Center, thank you. They made soup. His wife made soup for us to have, but we couldn't connect because his kids' schools got closed and he had to shut down the facility. And we were driving through the ice, so we didn't get to connect with them. But thank you and your family for your hospitality. And then the next day, we're like, all right, it can't be this bad again.
Yeah, and
worse.
And we were gonna go, like we were ready. Like I couldn't believe we were still going in 21-degree weather. And Pete's like, "Come on, let's go."
I'm going.
We're going.
We went out. We went out to Walmart and we got some gloves and some thermal socks. We're like, we are not going to get beat by ice. We're here in Texas. We don't get this chance. We're going.
We're doing it.
And of course, the ice was so bad and cold, the boats couldn't travel to get to us. So that's going on. So we're like, all right, we're housebound.
Gotta get some work done.
We got some work done, and we started doing that until we lost our electricity.
Yeah, the power went out. We got long in line, and then we lost power.
So we lost power, and we're like, it's getting cold, Josh. And what are we gonna do? We got a fireplace, but we didn't have at our Airbnb. They didn't have a store of wood for us, and we couldn't find any wood. So we were in desperate. We're freezing, and so we borrowed some wood from the neighbors, and
they were very hospitable about
I
that.
appreciated that. Thank you very much. And we got some wood. We got our fire going, and then we had a surprise visit from Lee Livesey.
Yeah,
and Jake, the videographer. What's Latondra? Jake Latondra
from Bassmaster,
from Bassmasters and from Bass University. They were filming trying to get it in, and they're stranded in the ice. We were close. They came over. We grilled burgers. We could grill. We had no power, but we had
just warm up around the grill.
We had a propane tank, and
you were fine.
Riz did the great burgers.
Did the great burgers. Scott handled the fire, and we survived the night, and a few adult beverages that helped us
warmed you up.
Stay warm a little bit too, and shout out to Lee and Jake. That was awesome, and so. as the night's progressing, all of a sudden, our window, Josh, it's blue in the middle of the night, like fireworks blue.
Crazy, yeah.
And the ice was collapsing the lines, and transformer caught on fire in a house behind us, and it was like the 4th of July.
We were there before Action News.
Yeah, we were there, and we thought the house was going to catch on fire, and we were the next door neighbor, but just crazy. And then shout out to Riz, who's now enjoying a much earned vacation.
He's actually watching right now on the plane.
Amazing, masterful job driving us to the airport. He was
well done.
He's got a lot of experience, plowing roads. That's what he does in the wintertime forever. And he carried us safely through some amazing, like untreated, ice-covered, ice rink roads to the Texas airport to Dallas. And unbelievably, American Airlines, we were one of like 10 planes that took off that day.
Praise American Airlines that day.
Jocelyn, thank you for that.
Just kidding.
And we were able to get home through the ice storm. So
that would have been a good trivia question. How many cars do we see on the side of the road broke down on the way to the airport? I mean, they were just scattered. It was crazy.
They were. And we were almost joining them more than on one occasion.
Yeah, I was happy to be in the back seat just with my mouth shut and saying, "You're doing a great job."
Yeah, you were quite the cheerleader. I got to give you props for that. Like we got to do what we can to keep Riz on his game.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a long time to be driving through that stuff. So, but really cool stuff, guys. We got this is your last chance to like and share the feed to win some of these awesome Waterwood custom crankbaits and topwaters. Very, very it's a $30 prize for each one of those. And we'll also have a pair of Hobie glasses, which is going to be for the trivia question.
Are you ready to give it?
I'm ready to ask the trivia question.
Do you want to ask it?
Do you want to? You go ahead, Josh.
I have to read what I wrote.
I can ask it.
Go ahead. I have the answer.
During the interview with Bernie, I was talking about a 20-pound bass that I saw in Texas, and he talked about a 20+ pound bass that he saw in Japan. What lake was he on? And when he saw that fish, it wasn't the lake I thought he was going to say.
Nope.
So
he did say, I'll give you a hint, it had very steep banks. That's all I got.
Very steep banks. I think he said it was spawning in a tree.
What was the exactly? Not where. Yes, Japan. But
yes, exactly. It was in Japan. What was the name of the lake? That's the question. Or what is the answer? Do you have a like and share winner for us?
I sure do. Our like and share winner is Matthew Keeble.
Matthew Keeble.
Way to
Congratulations.
Go,
I see the guesses coming in. They're not it. Keep coming, guys. I can tell you that it was monumental looking at that 20-pounder.
I'll never forget that. I mean, talk about goal setting.
Yeah.
When I saw those 13.5s in the spawning tanks.
Yep.
You know, when you could put your hand on their back.
Yep.
I mean, I did touch the fish, but they were that wide.
Yeah.
In a 13, I can't imagine how big that 19+ was.
Yeah.
You could see it, but you couldn't tell because of the glass differentiation.
Yeah.
But you knew that thing was a monster.
Yeah, where they keep them, and they call it a lunker bunker, and they take these giant 13-pounders and they have their own giant tank, and they keep them there until it's time for them to spawn. And so it's not built for viewing.
Yeah.
They just have these little observatory plexiglass plates cut in there so you can see what's going on.
They live the life of luxury when they get adopted in that program. I mean, full medical care, all the food they want, perfect conditions. I mean, they do a really nice job.
Yep. They wait till the conditions are perfect.
Yep.
And,
they don't never touch the fish unless they have to. I thought that was interesting. Having that 19-pound in the tank.
Yeah.
And they're like, have you ever weighed it? And they're like, nope, we're not touching that fish until we ever have to move.
Yeah, I didn't like that part. I wanted to fish.
Yeah, totally. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep,
sure. Nope,
no winner yet. Oh, we got you.
The spelling count, because sometimes those Japanese lakes are hard to spell.
We got you. We got you on that one. We'll give
BKJ, you're close.
Yep.
But, no.
Hey, we're.
Oh wait, we got it.
Oh man.
SBB.
SBB, got it.
It's Ike Hara.
Ike Hara.
Ike Hara.
Wow, way to go.
Way to go.
And you're going to love those lures too. Oh, my.
Icky Hara. I like your spelling, Stefan.
They're funny.
What's up, Stefan? We missed you in Texas. It was great to have you at the other events, and we'll see you. We'll see it. Hey guys, we're going to be at the Bassmaster Classic. Are you coming? Knoxville, Tennessee. You know, come by and see us if you're a subscriber. We always love to talk to you guys. We got something for you guys.
It's going to be a fantastic event. I
yeah.
got my travel rod packed. I'm ready to go. Thanks, Riz, for the idea.
Scott, hate to say this, but there's no time for fishing or in the Classic. We are busy.
There's always time for fishing. I don't need to sleep.
Well, it's gonna be a great event. Hopefully you'll be there. Make sure if you're going to Okeechobee, make sure you stop by and see Riz. He's going to be down there at the Elite Tournament at the Bass University tent. So make sure you go and check him out. Say hi. We love that. You're going to see us a lot of Bass University events this year. So come by and see us wherever.
We're really excited for the Classic. I remember when we were in Knoxville, that was the first time I ever saw everyone launch in the morning, and it was crowded. I think it was the most crowded launch they've ever had at Bassmaster Classic, and it was pretty cool. We even went to the weigh-in. That was the first weigh-in I've ever went to, and it's really neat to go. So hopefully everyone get to meet you in Knoxville.
Yeah, I'm excited to be a little warmer too.
Yeah, they're a little later in the season. Well, if you've never been to a Classic, you want to go if you get a chance. It's totally unique. It's one of a kind, and hopefully one of our Bass U instructors wins this year.
I hope so. Well, I mean, we have almost everyone, so
yeah,
yeah, it'll be epic. And the expo is that's where we're going to be set up, right? We're going to be at the expo, and the expo is where you save your lure money, guys, because they got the deals there.
Stefan chimed in and said sleep is optimal at the Classic.
Yeah. That's good stuff.
Hard to come by. Hard to come by sleep. And yeah, we also discovered on this trip, because I got to spend more time with you, Scott, than I ever had before. Yeah. Scott has a serious tackle issue.
Maybe a little one.
Yeah.
The ones that know me, I may have a little issue there.
It's serious. You might want to start some kind of support group.
Hey, when they put out the discount codes, I'm ready to go. You know what I'm saying? You got to jump on those deals when you can.
Yes.
Thanks, Lee Livesey. Appreciate you.
Well, if you're at the Classic, we are booth number 3111. So come by and see us.
Thanks for watching, guys. We're going to be back next week with another edition of Bass U Live, talking to somebody that's making it happen in the fishing world. We maybe we'll have the Okeechobee winner. Maybe we'll have somebody else. But we'll be keeping you posted, and check out all of our great releases. We've got a great release on water coming from our own Greg DePalma. Want to wish him luck at the first event this year, as well as Ike, who is traveling, making his way to Florida. Want to wish those guys good luck. But I want the GDP seminar we filmed about how to trigger fish with top waters in and around the spawn. You're not going to believe the techniques that he uses and the fish that we catch during this presentation, catching fish right off the beds on top water. Amazing stuff. So look for that all coming at BassU.tv real soon. I'm Pete Gluzek. We'll see you guys next week.
What's going on? It's Riz here from the Bass University, and I am excited to welcome in Waterwood Custom Baits to the Bass U family. These are custom handmade baits in the South Rainforest of Brazil. They're made of Marupa pedra wood. It's extremely dense, it's resistant, but it's also really buoyant. They're made of quality components with a 100% guarantee. They're made for tournament anglers to get it done when the money is on the line. Guys, that was like my second cast with this bait. That's a Waterwood custom bait. These things are handmade in the rainforest south of Brazil. And I mean, as you can see right here, it's a fish catching bait. It's got the front hook. That means they wanted it. This bait's, it's running really true. It throws really well. Guys, check them out at waterwoodcustombaits.com.
BassBoatForSale.com is the world's premier bass boat listings business. We focus on driving premium web traffic to our main website, business Facebook page, business Instagram, and our business YouTube channel, providing your bass boat listings the best buying traffic and top-notch exposure. Whether you need to sell your bass boat or are looking to buy a bass boat, it's simple. We give boats exposure so buyers shop and sellers list. One-time listing fee, no commission, and boats list until they sell. BassBoatForSale.com. Check it out.
AquaView, the leader in underwater viewing technology. Find what you are looking for. Catch more fish. Have more fun. AquaView. Seeing is believing.
Why do you love catching fishing rods?
I'm truly losing less fish.
Is the sensitivity of the rod.
That they're made right here in North Carolina in the USA. Strongest, lightest rod, 100% bait here in Sanford, North Carolina.
From the drop shot rod to the flipping stick, every rod has a purpose to it, and I rely on them all the time when I'm out there in a tournament.
Durability in the John Cruz Worman series, the counterbalancing in the handle.
It's the only rod I found that can withstand my hook set. Boom goes the dynamite.
On the water not spent fishing is a moment wasted. That's why Minn Kota and Humminbird have joined forces to bring you the One Boat Network. Products that communicate and integrate to help you take full command of your boat. Born from our commitment to making the most advanced fishing gear even better by making it work together. The One Boat Network will help you find, get to, stay on, and catch more fish. When One Boat Network products talk to each other, they can navigate your boat automatically. They can give you a crystal clear view of what's below with no messy wires. And they can let you lower, raise, and change shallow water anchor modes from anywhere on the boat. But that's just the beginning. We're never done innovating, integrating, and making your boat simpler and easier to control. All so you can make every second on the water count.
Oh, yes, sir. Got you. All that, and he's not with the ball anymore.
Really? Well, that was last year.
I don't know.
That's pretty super.